Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. So in today's video, I am going to be going over something that has definitely bothered me about Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds for a very long time. I've briefly mentioned it here and there, but I've never actually done a formal video on it. Now, the first thing you think about when you think of 5Ds, if it's not card games on motorcycles, is probably the protagonist Yusei Fudo. In my opinion, one of the best protagonists that the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise has ever had. However, a very big complaint and criticism that people have with Yusei is that he never lost a duel. This guy was undefeated, and even though he realistically did lose to Kiryu, and he lost to Jack Atlas in a flashback, the duel against Jack, well, one, it was in a flashback, and the duel against Kiryu wasn't technically a loss. His bike gave out right before the final attack came in, and so that duel is technically a no result. Meaning Yusei, throughout the current events of 5Ds, went undefeated. One of only two protagonists who did that, and that was a big talking point with Yusaku Fujiki from Vrains about how he never lost a duel, and I think it's definitely a pretty big point of criticism that a lot of people have when trying to find things that they didn't really like about Yusei, that he's a Mary Sue, and even though I've argued that, I can't really argue that his duels never had any spice of unpredictability in terms of the loss. I think losing a duel can lead to some really great development and character growth. We saw that when Yugioh lost to Jack in round 1. We saw that when Yugi lost to Raphael. And I'm picking those two duels off the top of my head because Yusei and the character that I'm going to be going over actually did have a rematch duel. And if you haven't figured it out by now, that character in that moment is Yusei versus Antinomy round 1. Let's get into the discussion / rant, whatever you want to call it. I don't have a script. I'm just going to talk off the top of my head. I hope you guys enjoy. So the Dark Signers arc concludes after 64 episodes, and it was a very, very good arc. It was a very good first half of 5Ds, and then we enter Season 3. Very early on in Season 3, Yusei sees this character spying on him, creepily spying on him, and that character later we find out is Bruno, but in the moment he goes by the term Visor, Dark Glass, I believe in the subbed version, or Antinomy. He goes by a lot of different names, but he's a mysterious character in 73. Yusei sees him watching over him on a bridge overpass, and when he tries to get a better look, Visor has disappeared, and then later at the banquet party that gets ruined by Debacle, that goon from the facility, Yusei sees him walking around and notices that he's at the party, the same guy that was watching him over the bridge. It's not until they're leaving the party when Ghost, the guy who runs the anti-synchro, or really the robot that runs the anti-synchro deck, is revealed to be in the main road again. They leave the party, Yusei and his team, and Antinomy makes himself known. He stops them and says, "You can't beat these monsters and these duelists in the state that you're in." Really interesting, and kind of a little scary, because at this point, Yusei is a well-proven duelist, and if he needs to grow and can't beat these duelists as he is right now, it's kind of a scary thought. And that's how episode 73 ends. Now we get to episode 74, and it is Yusei versus Visor round 1. It's important to note that these two characters have a great rematch duel, which ends up being a very sad rematch at the end of Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds, near the end of Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds. Of course, it's the duel where Bruno meets his death, and again, one of the saddest scenes any Yu-Gi-Oh franchise has ever been able to pull off. But for the love of God, I cannot tell you why on earth they did not give Yusei a loss here. Going into this duel, we knew that whoever this mysterious character was had to be a very strong duelist and was going to teach Yusei something, which he absolutely did. And I think one of the best ways, especially to teach a main protagonist and to show the audience like, oh wow, there is room to grow, is by giving the main character a loss. And so Visor has all the momentum going into this duel, and I remember even when watching it live, you know, a decade ago, I was like, oh, I bet you Yusei's gonna lose here. This is the perfect time for him to lose. There's no stakes, and that's very important, because besides maybe Yugi losing to Raphael in Season 4, whenever the stakes are very high, life or death, or I mean, usually it's life or death in Yu-Gi-Oh! The main character is pretty much invincible. You're never going to see the main character lose. You're never going to see him end up, you know, dying in the show. I mean, no Yu-Gi-Oh! Has pulled that off. You kind of had it in Season 4 of Duel Monsters, and that's why Yusei technically losing to Kiryu couldn't have happened. It couldn't have, because if he lost to Kiryu and his D-wheel didn't give out, he literally would have died. He would have been sent to the netherworld if you were watching the English dub. So that couldn't have happened. That was not a good spot to give Yusei the loss. You would have had to literally kill off your main character for the remainder of the show. But there are no stakes in this duel, and this duel is being billed as a learning opportunity for Yusei, as a growing moment. And we see Visor blindside Yusei by using a new summoning method called Axel Synchro. So we can even look back at hindsight and say, well, Yusei was really blindsided by that method. It showed he had a lot to learn. It's an understandable loss. In fact, in the current Yu-Gi-Oh anime, Yu-Gi-Oh 7s, we've seen Yugioh, the main protagonist, lose a total of 4 times at the moment, but on 2 of those occasions, it's because he was blinded by a summoning method that he did not have in his deck, known as maximum summoning. So we've seen that in Yu-Gi-Oh! When a protagonist gets blindsided by a new mechanic or a mechanic that they are not anticipating coming out, they're at a massive disadvantage. And so the moment that Visor Axel synchros, Yusei is at a huge psychological and legitimate disadvantage because Visor can pull out these stops that Yusei does not have any knowledge about. So it just, on so many different logistical levels, this was a perfect moment to give Yusei his first loss. The stakes were low, he wouldn't have died or anything like that, and it would have really beaten home the point that, wow, Yusei really does need to improve, and it would have made that rematch duel in the end of Season 5 that much better, because going into it, we're like, alright, this is going to be the moment where Yusei finally proves to the only character that has his number, I'm ready to take that next step. And his next duel is the finale against Zone. So it would have been such a great moment, I think, to have Yusei lose this duel just to see him finally beat Visor at the end of the show and show his growth in that regard. So what the show does, instead of giving Yusei a loss, which in my opinion is really a cop-out, is they say that Antinomy throws the duel, which he absolutely does. Bruno throws the duel, and Yusei even acknowledges it, but this isn't like a throw of a duel where if Antinomy activated a trap card, he would have won. No, it's just he didn't activate a certain effect. I actually forget exactly what happened, and because of that, Yusei was able to just attack for game and get the win. But if that duel went on, we would have no idea what would happen. In fact, Yusei very well could have won 2 turns later. It's not like if Antinomy did what he had to do to continue the duel, he would have been at a massive advantage or would have had a guaranteed victory. So what's more powerful to the viewer? Giving Yusei a loss early on in Season 3 to kind of throw everyone for a loop and really symbolize that, yeah, you got to grow, Yusei. You have to continue to grow as a character, and right now, this new threat, whoever it is, and this character that's aiding you, you really need to step up your game, even though you already are at the top of the food chain when it comes to dueling, or you have a situation where, which is what they did, where Yusei only won because Antinomy threw it, although if the duel continued, he still may have won anyway. I think they just completely butchered that moment. That, to me, is a golden opportunity. It's so obvious to me that Yusei should have lost that duel. I'm not sure if the writers got a little nervous and maybe got scared and backed off at the last minute, or if they really just never wanted to give Yusei a loss. I don't know. I just think logistically, symbolically, emotionally, it would have been a much more impactful moment to give Yusei a loss. And the man who should have beaten Yusei was Visor, Bruno, Antinomy, Dark Glass, whatever you want to call him. That first round duel was the perfect moment to give Yusei a loss, and that is absolutely where he should have lost his first and maybe only duel of the series. But guys, I want to know your thoughts on this rant. This has always been something that has bothered me about 5Ds and even about just the writing decision with Yusei to not give him this loss and instead to have Antinomy throw the duel, even though his win wasn't guaranteed, even if he executed what he needed to execute. So I want to hear from you guys. Do you guys think it would have made sense for Yusei to lose here? Can you think of some other moments where Yusei maybe should have lost? To me, this is just, again, a perfect moment to give Yusei a loss, but, you know, that's just my opinion on it, and I hope you enjoyed my little Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds rant. I will talk to you all down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And a special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Panther J, Blue Maiden 28, Jarrett Buller, and X-Slayer 64, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, and Anime Kaput, and to my Egyptian God tier patron, XZsLover 104. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon and who is a YouTube channel member. You guys help me out tremendously, and I would not be able to do this without all of you. I stream over on Twitch, twitch.tv/SuperDeepRot. The link to that will be down in the description. Thank you guys, as always, so much for your incredible support. I promise more videos, more rants like this will be on the way. Any topics that you have in mind that you'd like to see me kind of just go off on without any script, leave them down below. I kind of enjoy doing these rants, and hopefully you find them entertaining as well. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.